Welcome to Captive Conversations. I'm your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of hospitality leaders exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together. Hi, everyone. This is Captive Conversations, episode 22. I have Josh from me&u, that was Mr. Yum, that was something else a long time ago. Really excited to have the big boss here today. And as you can notice from the cameras, little quip, I forgot my big camera, so we're going to try with a GoPro and Final Cut Pro on the phone. So let's see how we get on. Hopefully it'll be all right. So bear with me. The quality won't be as nice as my beautiful Sony camera, but yeah, we deal with tech as we do, right? It's technology. So if you wave to everyone, say hello, give everyone a lovely wave. Lovely. Perfect. So say hello. Great. Perfect. So we're going to start with the questions from the last guest. That was Ellie Nadell. And his question was, what makes you get up in the morning, stay motivated to go and deliver a great day for your customers?
Straight in. Yeah, I think for me, like, I probably separate this into like what drives me and then what drives me to do it for the customers. And I think they're probably two separate things, although interrelated. Me personally, I think at times, certainly when I was younger, there were, like, in a sporting context specifically, that I probably didn't maximize my potential, and I saw other people around me maximize their potential. So I definitely, like, it's not a fear of failure, but it's a fear of not maximizing my potential. That definitely drives me to get up and go to work and do the best job I can. I guess why do what I do within the hospitality industry. It's one of those, like, I've always, this is kind of a tangent or a weird analogy, but I've always loved doing jobs where you get to see a tangible output of what you're doing. Yeah. So, like when I was younger, like, I had mates who were like landscape gardeners and doing stuff like that, and I always thought it was cool because you could, like, go and do a day's work and see what you did. And there's lots of jobs where that's not possible. But I think the cool thing about working in tech in the hospitality industry is you still get, like, some of the excitement and benefits of working in the software space, but also you can actually go to venues and see the output of your work. And I find that really cool. No,
I agree. I sort of had the same remit. We're the same. I love it. I love seeing the positive change you make on a business as well. And I quite like the positive change you make on the business helps them grow, and then you get more customers from helping them grow. Yeah. That little thing is just is a winner.
100%. And it has to work for it works for both companies.
Yeah.
Like natural growth.
Okay, and question 2. What was that defining What was that defining point that you knew that this was going to be the industry? Sorry, I can't even read today. What was the defining point that you knew that this was the industry that you wanted to be in?
Yeah.
I guess that'll come into your history in a bit, but you can.
Well, no, I was obviously you sent some of these questions before, so I was thinking about this one. I remember the first ever customer that we sold I Ken to, which is now like K series, and we'll probably dive into the business that did that in a little bit. But I remember the first ever customer we sold that into was a tiny little wine bar in Prince's Risborough called Duke's Wine Bar, and I remember doing it. I was like 22 at the time. But it was cool. It was like the first person that ever said yes. So we installed it. And then I remember, like, a few days later going in and sitting in a wine bar and just seeing all of the tech actually work. Yeah. And it was really cool.
With your fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. You're there like, please work. There's not many things worse than owning the technology and going into someone who's not working, because then you know your night's ruined, because you're going to spend the night trying to fix whatever the issue is. So
that's why I don't go to restaurants with my clients. Generally, it's getting a bit difficult now. So,
but that was really cool, and it was like, this is pretty awesome. Like, I didn't grow up in hospitality, so I don't have that background, but that was definitely a moment where I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah. Also, that. Okay, so we're going to go into our standard questions. And the standard questions is best hospitality experience.
I went really recent because there's loads and there's loads of different ones for different reasons. Recently, we only a couple of weeks ago, we went as a team to one of our customers, which is Clay's.
I've heard really good things about Clay's.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever been. The quality of the gaming experience was amazing, but equally, like, they'd done a great job of service around it. The food was good. Like, it was just a great evening out.
Yeah. Who won?
Not me. Jeez. Which I hate.
Yeah.
And the team love it when I lose. But one of our team, Jav.
He's new. Jav's new, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to meet him soon.
He's really cool.
Yeah.
We were playing this game, and you basically, every time that you shot, you kind of doubled your points, so you had to basically not miss. And he hit, genuinely not exaggerating, 34 plays on the one after another consecutively. It was very impressive. I'm
not playing with him. That's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise going with Jav.
Nice. Okay, best hospitality tech, and I've put in brackets obviously no self noms, so not you or any of your portfolio.
I've got.
Well, I'm guessing also, I'm sorry to interject, you're going to have to do a few because you're going to upset people, I think. Unless it's tech that you've used, you can, I guess that's a nice one to choose.
I've got three. So I am cheating in terms of only choosing one. But I probably, if what has become Lightspeed K series, but was originally iKentoo, wasn't as great as it was, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. It still is an amazing product, but like when it came out as it was the first proper iPad POS solution,
and it worked really well.
And it worked, and it was amazing. And the team who originally built that in Geneva are incredibly talented people. So that was and still is amazing. Yeah, and I owe a lot of where I've got to due to that tech. So definitely that one. I think I definitely come from a perspective of, I think best in class connected well is better than all in one.
To be fair, that was probably a question I was going to ask later, but I'm with you. I think the general questions are nowadays tech stack or single solution.
Yeah, and I think we will go to this. Tech stacks have probably crept a little bit too far, and I totally get why operators are trying to pull it back together a little bit, but I still think generally best in class connected well is the best way to go. And I think when you talk about connected well, if you just remove the integration itself and them being good, I think there's two challenges to solve. One of them is consolidating your reporting, and then the other one is consolidating your your item database, your call, where does my centralized point sit of items? Does that sit in the POS? Does it sit in stock control? Where does it sit? And I don't actually think that's fully been solved yet. But the other one, the reporting one, I think Tenzo have done an amazing job of trying to solve that one.
I think every podcast we have.
Oh, really?
I think I feel like Christian's slipping people money, but he's not, because it's a good product. So I agree with you on that. They have made it a lot easier for managers as well as GMs, even low level, all the way up, which not many other people have done, which I think is pretty good. So
that one.
Okay, that's two.
That's two.
And then third?
My third one, I went for. We actually don't work with them yet, but hopefully really soon. But I think Piggy's a great product. I've spent a lot of time. For me, the next iteration of, obviously at me&u, we generate a huge amount of data for our customers, but the next iteration is how do we leverage that? And I spent a lot of time looking at what is available to do that. And I think in terms of at a sensible price point with a great UI and a great solution, I think they're really good. So,
and we can wave to Lawrence. He'll be happy to see this. He'll be like, please cut this to a piece and then give it to me. So he's. I think their product's pretty cool. There are some other really good loyalty platforms out there, but I think they're more on the ground now. They're not even here, but I think the openness of him being on the ground is more. But I think they built quite a nice partner network as well. So I think that's what it's all about as well. So I think that the loyalty piece on its own is huge. Sorry, I'm hoping that didn't stop that camera from running, so we'll see what happens. I'm not going to get up, I refuse, so we still have this camera running. Okay, awesome. So they're the three. Now we're going to go back in time. We're going to go back to the beginning. So, what before your possibility, you were just in tech, right?
I was a failed cricketer.
Oh, before. Okay, let's go way back.
That was my first.
Yeah.
I mean, from
Where you met Mike.
That's where I met Mike.
Yeah.
And then from there I went straight into possibility. So no career pre possibility. That was my first foray.
That was your first foray in.
Yeah.
So what happened with cricket? You
Just-
were good, and then you went to big leads, and then you were like, I'm not that
I
good.
was good, but not quite good enough. I was saying earlier around like not maximising my potential. I mean, that's for me is actually what I was alluding to. So, didn't take it seriously enough to get where I wanted to.
But you were young, so
I was.
It wasn't. It's about direction, isn't it? You weren't sure, and so then what? They're straight into your possibility.
Yeah, I mean,
and then talk to me about the beginnings, because that was the beginning. Was that the beginnings? Were they already there, or
yeah? Yes, straight into possibility. I flew back from playing a cricket season in Cape Town. Went to a wedding 2 days after I was back. Met Robbie.
Yeah.
Who founded ePossibility in the first place. And got on really well. He had an IT business providing on the floor. So Mothercare back in the day.
Yeah.
This is like 2010. I might be butchering the dates if I am. Sorry, Robbie, but it was about that kind of time. Started to roll out assisted selling on the floor with iPads. And ePossibility was supported them with that rollout.
Okay.
So it was the first retailer in the UK to do assisted floor selling with iPads.
Oh wow,
which was cool.
Yeah. What year was that? Go on.
I reckon it was like 2012. But will maybe correct me. So they did that and ended up, and alongside a few other things they were doing for Mothercare, they became like an IT service contractor for Mothercare.
That's a nice contract to get.
Yeah, it was great.
And they were huge back then as well.
They were massive.
I got all my stuff from there. In fact, the back of their book, back of their little brochure had your checklist.
Okay.
So when my friend, after I had kids, my best friend was like I think 3 weeks, huge 3 weeks. She goes, I haven't bought anything, and I went, I've got something for you. I dug down into my home, and I basically drove over and gave her the back of the thingy and had all the checklist of what you needed.
Yep.
So yeah,
very cool. But obviously one customer is not a good business model. So Robbie,
one big customer
is a pretty risky business model. So
yes.
Robbie was looking at like how could he apply some of the learnings from what he was doing, which was point of sale, iPads, Wi-Fi infrastructure was generally what they were doing.
Yeah.
And retail was best flat, certainly bricks and mortar retail was not looking like a great place to be, and hospitality was in a really good spot. So wanted to kind of do something in hospitality. That was basically intersected with the point in time where I met Robbie, and we ended up opening up an iPad POS reseller business.
Yeah.
It started as so this is like 2014. So we were doing iPad POS, which was Ikentu.
So it started with that you found it, or
it was just before I joined actually that Robbie had found Ikentu.
Yeah.
And when I say just before, I mean like in the months before.
Yeah.
And
they weren't here yet, right?
They weren't here, so we had distribution rights in the UK.
Lovely.
Which was cool. So we started distribute. So then I joined and we were distributing Ikentu POS, iPad POS, and guest Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi infrastructure alongside it, because they have to work together. Obviously, you would know well.
We had clients. I'm surprised we didn't talk. To be fair,
we definitely had mutual clients.
We had lots of crossover. To be fair,
but we were trying to sell our Wi-Fi.
Yes, and then you're like, fuck, their Wi-Fi's already in. You have to remove them. So,
and they're actually doing a decent job.
There weren't many.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
because I remember, I think you guys had Island Pokey.
Yeah.
I think that was probably I think in the beginning of their iteration of the beginning, I think a second store I think you had in Broadgate Circle. And I remember us sort of helping, because I think they had another POS and then they ripped that POS out and they put you guys in. And actually the previous POS was having a nightmare. Like it was just like continuous issues. And then you went in and then it was just like flatline. It was like that, very quiet. So
quiet's normally good.
Yeah, that is normally good.
So yeah, so we were, and then what became obvious over time was the restaurants, although it was helpful implementing their POS and their Wi-Fi infrastructure, really what they wanted was help move. They were bored. The ones that we were working with anyway were really bought into the idea of moving to best in class, integrating the cloud. But the challenge they were facing was who the hell do we choose? Because the tech stack is much broader than POS and Wi-Fi infrastructure. It's stock control, workforce management, payments, now online ordering, loyalty. I mean,
it goes on forever, right?
So they're asking like, well, who do we choose? And then once we've chosen it, how on earth do we get these technology providers?
There's no project management as well, right?
Well, exactly. To actually align together to deploy this thing. And then once we've got it deployed, how do we then go and support? How do we get support when something goes wrong?
Yeah.
And we say,
who do you go to?
Hasn't printed in the kitchen. Like that could be Wi-Fi, that could be POS, that could be online ordering, that could be anybody. And everybody's all kind of pointing their fingers at each other.
I think everyone still points fingers.
Yeah. So we essentially started distributing more and more of that technology stack.
Nice.
And going.
But then I guess you were distributing a technology stack that worked.
Yeah.
So you'd already tested out. You're like, right, this works with that. That works with this. That works with that. Right, let's go that way.
Well, exactly. Because like everybody was saying at the time, we're probably talking like 2016, 17, and it probably still happens to an extent today. But everybody was saying, we integrate. It's like, well,
I love that word.
Integrations can mean
anything.
Yeah. So we'd identified a tech stack that genuinely integrated, and we were selling, deploying, and supporting that tech stack.
I think other pieces from memory that your team were trained on every part of that tech stack. So it wasn't just, hey, go buy this and then off you pop. It was very much like use us for us for deployment.
We were doing the whole deployment and support. And customers were taking out a contract to do that, and that business still exists today and is doing the same thing and doing it really well. I'm just no longer involved, So did that for. So did that.
But you went through lots of different it started as one role, and then 7 years?
Yeah, so I was there for 8 years.
8 years.
The last 4 as CEO. So
pretty good. To be fair, starting at just let's joining in the business and then leaving at CEO.
I mean I owe a lot.
Don't be humble.
I owe a lot of that to Robbie. To be honest with you, I was so young. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way. But for some reason, he trusted me.
I think that's how you learn. I had Stephen Rolfe in here, and he was saying that we broke loads of stuff.
Yeah,
like literally, we broke major systems and then fixed them, and we learned from everything. And now we know which route to take. And everyone says, "Oh, you should never make mistakes." Blah blah blah. It's always got to be perfect, but everyone's got to make mistakes, right? And also, you learn through your journey at the company. And it's made you a better person, probably in business, from learning those mistakes.
Massively. Yeah. Hugely. But I'm sure there were points in time where he was thinking, I probably would have made that decision. But he still let me.
Did he go in and rescue it then? Was he like the fixer?
Well, to be fair, Robbie spent that last 4 years building a separate stock control product.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Which still exists. And so I was
it's all about being a SaaS provider, isn't it? You want to transition from service to SaaS, which you've done. So
So did that for 8 years, and when we had a decent customer base by the end, and we were reselling technology. And when you're in that position, when new technologies come into the market, one of their easiest ways to get kind of some traction in markets early is to go through the reseller channel.
Yes.
So we'd often get approached by technologies saying, we're coming to the UK, would you like to have a look at it? Would you like to resell the product? And
you probably had loads. I mean, it probably got to the point where there was loads every day coming in at some point.
Luckily not to the day, but we certainly had a lot. And the reality is when we had quite high trust level, well, not quite high, we had very high trust levels with our customers, but ultimately you're only one bad recommendation away from losing that trust. So it's an important thing that you don't just sell everything just to make a quick buck. You're there. You have to make sure that you genuinely believe in the product.
Yeah, it's the trust, isn't it? As you said,
100%. It's really important and I think this industry values trust.
Oh, massively,
more than most.
Yeah.
And it's very relationship driven, which is probably another reason that I really like it. So we ended up being approached by Mr. Yum to this was around COVID time, where we'd recognised we had to pivot to offering some kind of online ordering solution because we were on a month-to-month subscription with our customers at the start of COVID.
Yeah.
I remember this vividly. And obviously all restaurants closed. So, and one of our differentiating points and while we were trying to build trust with customers was like, look, we're not going to lock you into a contract. We're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
If we don't do a good job, feel free to leave. That was one of our ways of kind of trying to build trust. Then COVID comes around and it's like, oh shit, we've got no contracts with anybody. So we went out to everybody on the day and we're like, and we'd gone through years of getting everybody across to direct debit.
Yes. Oh,
so we'd gone out to everybody. We basically sent an email out saying, look guys, we're not going to charge. We'll track. And if you're trading, we'll charge you. But if you're not trading, we're not going to charge you. Just please don't cancel your direct debits because...
I wish I would have done that. I had about 40 billion emails, because it's the accountants. It's not the GMs. The owners, I bet you had probably loads because the owners were like, yeah, don't worry, we'll be fine. And their accountants probably gone, shit, slice it.
But we did
all right.
We were actually right. But then we went to zero, pretty much zero revenue. And we had a team. And it was hard. So then we quickly were like, right, what can we do? Well, we can do online ordering. And then what was Mr. Yum approached us to resell it, and we started reselling it for a bit of time. And
so was that a choice of others at that point? Because there were a few already here, right?
Yeah.
So the Quick Serve and others were already sort of here in the flow.
Yeah, they were a choice, and everything from like very bespoke, so like almost custom build every time, through to like out of the box and everything in between. But we just felt that Mr. Yum was ahead at the time.
And going back to throughout your journey, the conversion from iCan2 to Lightspeed, that was with you being at ePossibility as well, right?
Yeah.
What was that like, out of interest? Because obviously you had the license rights to sell, and then they were like, hi, we're here.
Yeah.
What was that? I just wanted to quickly touch back on that because it's like a, listen, I think it's an interesting point because there's a lot of trust and there's a lot of recommendations.
Yep.
And it's weird because we speak to people who know all about ePossibility. We speak to people who don't know about ePossibility about it. And then when people do hear about it, they're like, oh, they can do all of this.
Yep.
And so on. So it's really interesting. And now there are more resellers, obviously, out there. What was it like what was that journey like? Politely.
No. I can.
It's because it's interesting. It's for people to hear.
Well, it was during COVID. Was it during COVID? I actually can't remember when the acquisition happened.
Yeah.
But what I do remember very vividly was I got this random like really early morning call put in my diary, and I just jumped on it in like a hoodie.
Yeah.
Literally just woken up, and I suddenly looked up and all of the senior management I came to were on the call.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, this is a serious call. What the hell's going on here? And they told us about the acquisition, and it was happening. It was being announced like the next day.
Yeah.
So we were like one of the last before general announcement. We were pretty much the last to hear.
Yeah.
And then you go through a period of like everything's up in the air.
Yeah.
Because like are they like
what's happening?
You've not got no relationship with them. So
yeah.
Like, what's happening? Does our contract stand? Like we were pretty reliant on Lightspeed to do what we were doing. So,
yeah.
A period.
Had you ever done anything with L series in the past or not?
No.
Okay.
No, we were like iCan2. We were
yes.
firmly of the belief that was the best product in the iPad pod space. So yeah, you go through a period of uncertainty, and then it starts to like slowly dawn that they want you part of the journey, which was cool. But then like the bit that we were always the bit that most vividly sticks to my mind was Lightspeed were trying to apply the kind of quick sale, stack them high, sell them cheap.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite like that, but it was certainly like high volume was.
Yeah, they wanted to expand quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We were like, guys, this is a pretty complex enterprise product to implement.
Yeah.
There are a lot of tick boxes, and this isn't easy to understand. And if you try and give this to customers in its current state to kind of self on board, this is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And that probably that conversation played out over like years and years of realization. And I think I know Mike's obviously now leading the business in the UK from a hospitality perspective. And I think they're slowly coming to the realization they've done some huge improvements to make.
Oh man, I mean, I have not the menu stuff, but set up. We had clients a couple of years ago, even a couple of years ago now, who in Broadgate Circle, she was like, "I'll do it. I've got a site." She set the printers up. She did. I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And we just went there to help them with the rest of the bits. Yeah. So it's come a long way.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
it was a lot. It was different before, but
So yeah, that was interesting, and we were often being like pulled into.
I bet your brains, your knowledge base.
I mean, there was a point in time where we trained the Lightspeed team on the IQ2 product, which is pretty mad. But yeah, it was cool, and like the relationship is still ongoing.
It's also quite a nice point in your career as well to go through that transition to be part of it. Yeah, because you're quite tight. You were very tight with the brand itself, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. You got to see all the peaks and troughs of that transfer. Yeah. Okay, so now, Mr. How did they find you? You were using the product. You were selling the product through COVID.
Yeah.
And then you were like, "This is pretty good."
Yeah.
So did a lot? Obviously, I'm assuming loads of customers went in and went, "Shit, we need to do," because we had click and collect. Like there were loads of restrictions.
Yeah.
So the need for, and the funny thing is, talking about that back in Australia, and I said this to the guys at Redcat the other day. Well, they told me actually, they were like, they adopted QR way before COVID, so it was very much adopted. So the QR whole concept of everything was already there. I was in awe of like. It being, he goes, everywhere you go, it has it. I was like, here it's like, this is like 6 months ago. I was like, here it's like, clever people will use it, and savvy operators will use it. And there's still some that are a bit like, oh, I don't want to turn it on, you know. So, during restrictions, but during restrictions, it's like for click and collect or order. And did they do? Was it mainly just click and collect to start?
Click and collect, delivery.
Yeah.
So and a little bit of dine-in. So we did some business together when when I was at ePossibility, when we were reselling Mr. Not loads, but some. And then towards when was it? 2022? Yeah. I joined at the start of 2026, so kind of towards the end of 2021. Kim and Adrian, who are the founders, flew over. And we were discussing some ways in which ePossibility and Mr. could work better together, like closer together than they do today. Closer together than they were at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, our ePossibility's strength has always been in its strength has never been sales. Its strength has always been in deployment and service and the service levels that it delivers. So we were trying to look at like how do Mr. do the go to market, and then ePossibility got to back it up and do the implementation. But it didn't work out. We couldn't get something agreed between all of the parties. But what came of it was an opportunity for me to go and work for Mr.
And how many people did they have anyone here at that point? Or
so there were a few. I know you've interviewed Alex, haven't you? So Alex was here in the UK at the time. Alex Dyan. Simply.
No, I haven't had him yet. Come in.
Not?
No, not yet.
Oh.
I haven't done Alex yet.
Okay.
But Alex is cool.
Yeah.
He's Chris has done Alex, not me.
Okay.
Chris has done Alex. Sorry. He's watching the wrong podcast. Sorry, no. But yeah, I met him. Oh my God. Seriously, that character to me is, I was like, I said to Chris after I watched it, he needs his own content because he's pretty cool. So, yeah.
So Alex and a few others were in the UK.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't huge, but we were, Mr. was starting to gain some traction. And it came at a really, it came at a point in my life where, I had been at ePossibility for 8 years.
It's a good CV.
Yeah, it was, but like I think on reflection wasn't doing the best job. I probably had like
hit the ceiling maybe. Yeah.
End point with it, and I was 29. I had no mortgage, no kids. Like I was like my risk appetite was pretty high.
Yeah. Good time to switch.
Yeah, and it was a good time to go and
hold on. Bear with me. I what happened there. I think my GoPro decided to take a photo. So, but anyway, continue.
But yeah,
Sorry.
it was a good time to go and take a risk and see something else. Like I had, at some point in the future, I'm pretty confident I will go and launch my own thing. And the way I was looking at it was, I had done an organically grown, self-funded business. I'd never seen a VC funded business with the expectations that come with that, with the money that comes with that, and what that growth path looks like.
Yeah.
And it just was a great time for me to go and learn something else. And so yeah,
and also international as well, right?
International, working with an Australian business, like so many, like the two businesses
are nice though as well. So you know, when I left, I think my last IT job was with Kiwi. The CEO was a Kiwi, and he was like, I took my door off the hinges, so just come in whenever you like. And then Fridays they would have like wine and snacks. And it was just it was so open.
Yeah,
it's so different to here.
They definitely have a good work-life balance.
Yeah, so it was so like literally he was like, just call whenever you want, hop in. And I try to bring that to what we do as well, trying to make it a bit open and stuff. But yeah, it was so different from being in a corporate environment where I was in, going to that business. And I think it's the same with Ollie's, people will hate me because, but the mentality for both, I think for them and their ethic is very open.
Yeah, agreed. And they do a great job of like maintaining a sensible, productive work-life balance that's like sustainable over a long period of time. It just gave me an opportunity to learn things that I just would never have had the opportunity to do at ePossibility. And they're just so different. I mean, on paper, they're similar in terms of like same number of employees roughly that I was managing at both businesses, but and like the core principles of running the business are still the same, but the environment you're running it in is very different. So it's been cool to learn some new stuff.
And then you had merger. Which sort of, so not only did you work with the possibility all the way up, bringing POS to the country that was never here, and then moving to me&u, great, and then merger, and that scares the bejesus out of me, to be honest with you, because like it freaks me out. But I mean, I had two Australian companies, right, merging together. What was that like when you sort of heard the inklings about it, and what was that like?
Well, I think for context for people who perhaps don't know, the two ex companies were Mr. Yum and me&u, and we've obviously carried forward the me&u brand. Both business. So the ex me&u business, based out of Sydney, was about 200 employees.
Okay.
And in the UK, US, Australia was about 3,000 customers. The ex-Mr. Young business was about 200 employees. Yeah. In the UK, US, and Australia was about 3,000 customers. So the businesses were selling the same.
I felt like they were in the same office next to each other, going, "I'm going to get that one. You have that one. Under this one."
Yeah. I mean, they like scarily similar in terms of the what the companies are doing. I mean, even in the same city, based in the same city in America, like ridiculous.
You can't make the story.
But I think the first feeling was like excitement. This is going to be, when we get to the end of the merger process, this will be amazing. Like two incredibly good companies, two really significant companies in the space, coming together, like so cool. Like the idea of bringing the talent together and the knowledge and everything else, like, and on paper a no-brainer. Like, so the first feeling was excitement. You then go through okay, cool. Well, what comes with, you don't need two of everybody to do everything.
Yes.
And that realization starts to come in, and there is the inevitable headcount,
of course,
reduction, which has to happen because it would make no sense for it not to happen. And then you go through a period of uncertainty, which is really hard for everybody. And I sat on both sides of that. I sat on the uncertainty myself, not knowing whether I had a role, and then actually having to manage once that was confirmed, having to manage the uncertainty of the next stage.
But I think I feel that came at a point with others as well, because you had lots of other providers like Just Eat. I think Just Eat at that point had challenges and scaled down. I think I'm not mistaken. Is that around the same sort of time?
I mean,
was that before? Because I think quite a few providers or big companies all, not that they merged, but all were like, okay, let's restructure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2022, 2023 was just hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
But
not just for you guys, but also hospitality as well, right? It was crazy.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they are all interconnected and related in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go through this uncertainty phase, and that's really hard. But then you come together as an organization, and you realize that you're so similar. Like, you've had the same challenges in market.
Yeah.
You've had the same experiences. You have the same kind of passions and interests to a certain perspective because you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's so many similarities, and actually then the kind of integration of the teams becomes much easier than you thought it was going to be. Yeah. And the team now is certainly the organisation are in the UK full of amazing people. And then the kind of last challenging bit is the migration.
The tech. Sorry, I said it with a high-pitched voice, but like it's like two really big products. Yeah. With probably two different features. I remember you saying like there's different, some feature sets here that are awesome, some features here that are awesome. So now it's just taking...
So you have to the first thing you do is you make a decision on which tech stack you're going to use, because you can't continue them both forever. So we chose to continue building on the Mr. Yum tech stack.
Of course.
I did this.
It's better. No, I'm kidding. I think maybe you were a little bit ahead, to be fair. Or maybe honestly, it's easier for expansion, or is it so close?
It was really tight. Yeah, like there's so many benefits to the two different platforms. I think it fell down to infrastructurally. Yeah. The opinion was that it was easier to build on for the long term and scale. Yeah. But then you go, okay, cool. Well, we're carrying forward this tech stack, so we've got to migrate. So we've basically got 3,000 customers on both of these platforms. So we've got to get 3,000 customers across to this new platform. And so to do that, there's some feature parity work that you have to do. Yeah. There's some technical work that you have to do just to make the migration possible. There's data work to get single this.
It's like going, woo, it's crazy hard. Yeah.
But like you kind of.
So not only are you dealing with the remit of at the top there, dealing with the people, but also having to like proactively help with manage that old project as well, or you just sort of like give them a go and you can do it. Come on, because the role is big now.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately in the UK, we're still not at the scale of Australia. Like the migration is really hard in Australia. To be fair, Kerry, who oversees, she's one of the co-founders who oversee the migration. Like they're on track, and it's one of the best projects we've ever delivered. In terms of committing to it, delivering to timescales and so on.
I think the difference you probably have here is that 50 sites is big here, but 500 sites is big there. Yeah, well, or 200 sites maybe. Yeah. So moving that over is...
Yeah, I mean, there weren't loads of me&u customers in the UK, so the migration itself's not too hard. But
over there I meant.
Over there.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And like very disparate between Australia's big country. So the biggest challenge for us has been, in the UK anyway, you kind of just going back one step. You have a decision to make, which is like, are we going to run these tech stacks in parallel over kind of 2 years and continue to do a significant amount of net new feature development? Or do you just rip off the plaster, do the migration as quickly as possible, and then get back to net new? We've decided to do the latter. But it means for 2024, a huge amount of our resource is focused on getting the migration done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, of course. But to be fair, I will say that even before it happened, both products were pretty slick. Yeah. So, I don't think you're missing, I don't see you missing out on, there's more development that wants to be done and new features and everything else and so on, but it's pretty rock solid product.
Oh, the product's
so
great.
Even though that the year is focused on that migration, I think you did benefit a little bit of, before all that happened, you were like, we've steamed ahead already.
Yeah, we were definitely ahead. I think one of some of the difficult things like this year there have been opportunities working with groups that we would love to have said yes to.
Yeah.
In 2025 we will be able to say yes to, but we've had to say no for 2024 because we've had to prioritize.
Yeah, I guess
that's really hard.
Some of the group wants feature sets that you don't have. So if there's a bigger group comes to you, you're like, yeah, we can build that.
Yeah,
I guess. But
with the answer, certainly the first half of this year has often been no.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The challenge
of
hard
calls.
Yeah.
You can't do everything, which is tough.
Yeah,
but I'm so like we're starting to see some of the like output of taking some of the best parts of 1.0 into 2.0.
Yeah.
So we call now, for context, what was the me&u product 1.0 and the XBSDM product 2.0. So we've started to bring some of those features across. I mean, we're starting to see some improvement. But like when we get these teams like lined up and actually focusing on net new, as of the end of this year, it's going to be really cool.
So have you got your little feature list already, like of what you want?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I'm just trying not to put too much on it.
Yeah, I get it. I think these are the challenges, right? When you're a software company, it's continuous. I've learnt this myself.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'd love to have a product that we don't do anything with, but we with that one over there. Well, I said this the other day. I was like, I put everything into like a Monday board, right? So I put everything on Monday, and we spoke to devs and said, right, we want to do this. And they went, yeah. Do you remember we talked about sprints? I was like, what's a sprint? I have no idea what a sprint. I'm not a developer. I'm just tech, right? I go implement systems. Right. This is what sprint is. Okay, can we just do like sprints? So sure. So I just shoved everything into the sprint, and they came back and went, we didn't mean copy and paste everything into and rename it sprint. Let's be realistic. So now, we're actually doing 2 week sprints, but and just continuously adjusting. But it's mental, the amount of project management time. We don't have the resource that you guys do, but even working on a project and choosing integration and then building, it's mental. It's always. I don't know how the devs do it. It's continuous because there's something. Also, you got all the integrations. So we mentioned a little while ago that if a developer's if one supplier goes, oh, we're going to change our stuff. It's like Uber and delivery when they want to start changing stuff, and DeliverX like, oh we're on it because we know there's a billion errors coming in, but not everyone's got all those plugins.
Yep.
So you have the challenges of when a POS company goes, oh, we're just going to do an update, and then it screws that integration. It's just I feel for software companies. Do you know what I mean? Because it is some that are open. I put a post on LinkedIn the other day about this, about being open, how not everyone is open. You guys with Misty, me&u, do have an API, which is nice. But there is a challenge of that, right? Of having to be there for your customers and having to make sure that connection works, because you guys are plugged into how many integrations?
We'll have 70 POS integrations globally, and that's just on our serve product, and then Connect as well. You can probably add another 30. So
it's crazy, right?
It's a lot,
and it just goes forever. So yeah, I feel for it. Okay, so we're going to move on a little bit and talk about innovation in tech. So what do you think is coming for you guys, or can you share if possible, or what do you think is coming for the industry? Because obviously, we see more and more people adopting tech. It's happening more. There's better till systems out there now that are sort of open as well, giving you the flexibility to plug in that best of class.
Yep.
So what do you see people, either you guys doing, or what do you see the future of hospitality tech?
Yeah,
it's a broad question, and I didn't ask you previously. So yeah, but I'm just curious, like, what do you see is in like the future of what could be yours, or what? Because people must be asking what's coming.
Yep. Maybe I'll start with me&u. I would definitely know that. Well, I definitely know that. I have an opinion, and I think that probably is clearer. Then I can circle back on the industry more broadly. From a me&u perspective, I think the first probably need to split into like short term and then longer term.
Yeah.
I think short term, there's some stuff we would like. We've done a lot of work in the food hall space, and we love working in that sector. And
you can share a couple of clients if you like in the food hall space.
who would be Box Park.
That's a very nice client.
Yeah, they're a cool client.
And it's difficult because individual traders, and so on. And it's hard with getting that right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That whole space, I don't think, now glad you've done it, because we work with a load of food halls and there's always a challenge of trying to get it right. And the POS company tries to do it and it doesn't work. So, So is that, so obviously you're in, which is great. And how is that working with each individual traders? Is that just sending it straight through the POS?
Yes.
Fully integrated.
Yeah, fully integrated. So we effectively have, so me&u is built in instances. So each venue in a normal, normal restaurant, each venue would have its own instance. We do the same in the food hall space. So each trader has its own instance. Nice. The only real difference is we then consolidate those up into a single
order
menu that the guests can order from.
So it doesn't look all fragmented, because in the past it was very much like scan for each trader, right?
Yeah, or you can order from, you have to go and do different transactions for different traders. So no, you can do it all like that. And then we split the order back out after it's been processed, and then we send it to the pod. So you, in theory, could have 17 traders on 17 different pods. Yeah. All integrated.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that, to be fair, because some of the pods like to have their own, but some traders like Mercato and others have
different ones.
Well, I didn't even think about that.
So Box Park has, some of our traders are on like direct to printer, so we just send it straight to a printer. Some of our traders are on EPOS now, integrated, and then the Box Park bars are on Tavares.
Oh my god!
So
that is a big old jumble bumble.
Same infrastructure. Yeah. But there's some stuff we would like. There's some stuff we're going to do in that space in the short term. We want to help. So from an operator perspective, bar sales are really important in the food halls. That's how they make most of their revenue. So we want to help cross-sell and upsell and create deals more. We just released a feature to be able to cross-sell drinks on food transactions, which is cool. And then
it's also, I guess, it's the feature of making it easier for the customer. So with the cross sellers, like when you're placing an order for that burger, that beer goes quite well with it. And I think there's always been a challenge in the past with others where it's just a click to point. And that's the challenge with ordering platforms. There's lots of just click to point and order. And that does it some clients are very happy with that, but I think there's definitely a need into cross-sell and upsell, and do that to give the feature rich, so when the customer comes back to order, it's a bit more personalized.
That's short term. There's some operational things we would like to help. Like most of these food halls are on a model where you where they charge a commission. So call it whatever, 15% of the trader's revenue. We'd like to make that process automatic.
Oh, that's nice.
So there's no financial
not additional paperwork.
Exactly. So we just take the 15% and pay it to the top co and pay the trader out. So that's coming. And then another interesting one is actually the food hall staff aren't really empowered in that journey to really be involved. We're pretty close to being able to give a food hall staff member a iPhone that they can take an order from a guest for any trader.
Oh, sweet.
And use tap to pay. And all those traders could be on different pods. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, which would be really cool.
Because that's awesome. Because then it's the same ecosystem, same ordering platform, and so on. So it's basically like a handheld.
Exactly, it's a handheld, but pods can't do it because
we've got 4 different pods. How do you do
pod systems, or at least 4 different pods instances. So they can't do it.
So you're becoming the plumbing.
Which is cool.
It's like the plumbing. Really, you become the plumbing behind the feature rich. So if you've got 70 plus integrations, the solution is going to be, well, actually use this because this will work on the floor.
Certainly when you've got multiple pods, it becomes really difficult for pods to do that. So that's short term. I think if we were to zoom out a little bit from a me&u perspective, probably the 2 big things that we're talking about at the minute is from a guest perspective, personalization, customization, like personalization, so that we can. I saw a CAM report this morning come out, which was I'm going to butcher the stats, so I won't. But
I'll put it in the show notes for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But effectively, it was saying that people make choices based on like one of the ways they make choices is based on if they like they feel comfortable ordering it because they've ordered it before.
Yeah.
Didn't quite say that, sorry Cam, but it was something like that. And then there was another one like if it would be helpful to know if there were healthy options.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, we talked ages ago about like Vita Mojo, for example, and with Ellie when he was here last week with the sliders.
Yeah.
So you can choose the slider of if how, and it's weird because no one's doing that still. The concept that they had before they were a tech company. Yeah. No one has thought of doing the same thing because they actually had, as a restaurant, you go in, I want more protein, I want less protein, I want more veg on the sliders, which was awesome. But if you could, that's really clever. So if you want to choose, I mean, I guess filters off and...
Well, filters, but like you shouldn't need the guest to filter because...
No, it should recognise you, right?
Exactly. You should know what your preferences are.
So are we going to a bit of machine learning into a bit of that or not? Is that like looking at what would work for you in your profile? Because I think the question for you is as well, Mr. Me&u, you're a user, you create an account with Me&u, right? So every order from wherever you go is in that single user profile. Yep. So you end up building a lot of information about that person. Yeah.
Which is a slightly different approach to what most of our competitors have taken.
Yeah.
But we've done it very deliberately because we do believe that in the medium term, having some understanding of who each guest is and what they like is going to empower us to be able to deliver a better personalized ordering experience.
I agree. As soon as you sign in or whatever, your features of what you've ordered in the last X are there. We know that you like this. 100%. It's like the maitre d' coming in. I know you like steak. Here's your champagne's ready to go. Yep. It's the virtual version of that, basically, making it customization, but without really worrying about loyalty too much yet. But that's cool.
Yeah, 100%. So personalization is kind of all of that. I think customization from a operator perspective, it's starting to get to the point where the main way, it's for some of our venues anyway, and the ones that use the platform to a large extent, the main way the guest is interacting and experiencing the brand is through our platform. So we need to get them more customization. I like the idea of content scheduling. Yeah. So you can have certain things on certain days and that kind of stuff. So that's definitely top of mind. That would be one thing within the kind of guest experience. I think the other one that we would like to solve is there's this friction between order and pay and staff. Yeah. And actually often the feedback we get is our staff, if we love using you guys, we're at 70-80% usage, but our staff aren't empowered to be involved in the journey. Yeah. So we've released Crew, which is the iPhone app that I was talking about, but it's the first iteration into, we truly believe that like Me&u shouldn't stop the waiters.
It shouldn't be a barrier to entry, right? It's a barrier to entry. I think that's a challenge I have with staff.
The Me&u ecosystem of technology should help the staff to deliver a better service. Yeah. And we will get there. We've started on the journey, but there's definitely more to go there. Like we will be in a position in the not too distant future where using the Crew app, I can know it's Adam here. He's been here 6 times. Yeah. He's a vegan.
So you make it even more personable. So 100%. On booking, pull the information in, like even if booking goes into POS.
Because of booking, we should know it because you've done one order for a drink through Me&u. Yeah. And you've also ordered at 3 or 4 other Me&u venues in the past, and hence we have a profile of you. And you've just
or they could just connect to the Wi-Fi, and then they've arrived, and they plug into your platform, exactly. and then
100%. That's another way. That's another way.
Yeah, it pops up on their little tab, and you can I remember back in the day, when I used to be in Charlotte Street, Revel had this PayPal check-in, where you wouldn't need a card, so you would just. But check in if you were within a vicinity, leave your wallet and everything and your phone in the office. You just check in and you walk up and they go, I've checked in. Yeah. And you click on the pause and your PayPal face would pop up and they go, oh, Adam. Yeah. And you just pay. Yeah. And that was so long ago.
Time.
Yeah. Very clever, but obviously not around anymore. But that sort of thing, like personalization is important. I think that's really clever. Yep. And I think you're right. I think there is a barrier to entry. Some people staff will be like, I don't want to use a QR. I want to show them how service is. So if they can still use the app, and if the customer's in a hurry, they can use the QR and off they go, right? Yep. So I think we find it really strange that I try to convert people to using a platform or your platform,
we just tell them turn on drinks. Just turn the drinks on. And we say, I say to them, I've sat there for 45 minutes and I've got my Diet Coke, but I now want a beer. And you're busy. Everyone's busy. I just want to order a drink and I can't. And so what happens to the group of people that want a round of drinks? Do you know what I mean? Like that, and that sort of jazz. I think that's I don't know. I find it hard to explain to customers how to use, if they're like, I want to upsell and then we want the experience, but then they don't see it. I mean, you've seen that obviously as well. I think that's a challenge I have with showing people to use tech. I think there's still a bit of a barrier on that.
Yeah, that definitely exists.
Yeah, I think.
The only way, like, I don't think.
I feel like I want to put like a QR code in there for them and just put it on a printer by the bar, and then it just go through and say, because you could do offline mode, right? And just put it by the bar. I think I might do that. I think I might say to them, I tell you what, I'll buy you a printer, just turn it on, put a couple of QR codes and see how it works. And then all of a sudden they see this value of all this transactional data coming through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I certainly don't sit on the side of like trying to drag people kicking and screaming. Like, I think it's our job as technology providers in this space to do a great job with customers who are early adopters, and share what's happening so that other operators can see and then make a decision themselves. But the only way deploying our tech is successful is if there's buy-in from the operator. Because like we've done a lot of research on this. Broadly, the guests sit in 3 buckets. 10% hate the thing and will never use it. 10% love it and will use it every time, and 80% are pretty agnostic. And they'll do whatever the staff member says. And they'll do it happily. So having the operator buy-in is the difference between 10% usage
massive.
and 90% usage. And at 10% usage, you don't see any of the benefits that we talk around, increasing average order value, reducing table turn times, like all of these things. You don't see any, the needle doesn't move at 10%. It does move at 50, 60, 70% usage. So
I guess, and also with that, now you've got the app and staff members have the opportunity to be a part of it. I think that makes a bit of a difference.
100%, but we're very early in that.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, there are others that are building as well, right? And look at all the POS companies building their. It's all about payments, and you've already been doing payments. I find it really interesting about tech and how different places do it. One of the guys I had on previously said he saw a video. I think it was Nima from Tissot. He said I saw a video on TikTok where these kids just wouldn't go to a restaurant unless they had QR ordering, because either they were nervous and didn't want to talk, or they weren't sure what they wanted to do, but they just wanted to go in, pay, and then leave. So different generations, I guess, isn't it?
It's definitely. I mean, in the research we've done, it's very different between generations. But surprisingly, from like,
I'd like to see that. Is it recent public? So I'll put it. I'll actually put it in the show notes. It'd be quite nice to people see.
Yeah, but like, you'd be surprised. 50 and down.
Yeah,
like, there's a general good sentiment towards it. It's not like, I think operators tend to think that it's negatively perceived. I don't think the data shows that.
I think there needs more data. I think there needs just be more data shining on that. So then I think there'll be more adopters to it.
But you're starting to see some of the casual dining, like the casual dining brands move to this type of technology, and I think as they do,
you're right. With the bigger brands as well, as you start to see it, and I think Big Table have done some cool stuff with the gamification on their app and with the app and stuff. So that's really cool. So I quite like that. I'm not an app person. I don't like apps. I'm not.
It's a bit of a pain.
I prefer that. I'm all about the wallet.
You've got to get to real scale to get to that. And then just to answer your last question, the kind of long-term view in terms of where me and you will go, as it stands today anyway, we think that the kind of guest discovery of restaurants, like how people find restaurants, is pretty broken. Google reviews is not, like, historically it was TripAdvisor. That's crap because you only get the extremes. Now it's Google reviews, but that's crap because everybody is only sending 5-star reviews to Google. So that's not a true reflection. So what you end up doing is just WhatsApping your mates.
Or going on TikTok.
And that's got to get better. And TikTok most of the time is someone who's been paid to do that. So
it depends if you're my kid or not, because she's 16, so she knows those creators. And she ignores all of them. But you're right. There is,
but like that whole experience is rubbish.
Yeah,
And it's got to get better.
it does. And it needs to be recommendation based as well, right?
100%.
Well, you guys could do like referral as well. Bring a mate. I was looking at something else the other day. I was talking to. It was like if you go somewhere, and I was speaking to Lawrence and Piggy actually. I was listening to the podcast back the other day, and we were talking about if you brought a mate with you, and then say you were ordering together, then give them a benefit or give them a surprise and delight because they've brought a friend and they're both ordering on the platform. So I think that's something that's really cool that could be done.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, we talk a lot around like how do we crack guest-driven growth?
Yeah.
Because if we can get to the point where a guest sits down and no matter what the staff member says, the guest sits down and goes, "Oh, awesome, that's me and you. Like, I want to use that because, and that because X, Y, Z can be whatever it wants." But if we crack that, well, then
It's the dream.
solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So
I guess as well making that known, right? So that if the brand's there and someone's used it somewhere else, and they've got a little QR code with your logo on it.
Well, that's why it's like some of our operators will be will ask why we insist on having the me and you logo in the middle of the QR code.
Well, there's trust, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like it's like when you land on a Shopify website.
Yes.
You're like, this is going to be a good experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to get through checkout easily. I'm going to get notifications on the delivery.
Yeah.
But that's not because of the brand you landed on. That's because you know it's Shopify.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're
the dream.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think, and I'm totally with you. Okay, so we have come towards the end, and we have some questions towards the end. So I thank you. I'm going to give you a little round of applause. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And but the last questions we have are best restaurant.
Yep.
And you can have more than one if you want.
No. I can do one.
Okay.
Kiln.
Okay.
In Soho.
Yeah.
Or any of the Super 8 restaurants are great, but Kiln in Soho. I used to live above it, which was really cool.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, only for a year. I could only stomach a year in Soho, but I used to live above it, and they were one of our early kind of bigger customers at ePossibility. So yeah, whenever anybody asks me where they should go in London, my first recommendation is Kiln. I love it.
Kiln in Soho. Done. Best burger. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, this is really hard. I mean, there's so many good ones. I come into London on a Monday and I stay over, which means that I eat a lot of delivery Monday to Wednesday, and I tend to end up on Black Bear Burger.
Yeah,
quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a customer, which is good as well. So
that helps.
It does help, but yeah, Black Bear Burger tends to arrive at my desk at about 7 p.m. on a Monday far too often.
Nice. Best hotel?
Yeah, this one was harder. I didn't actually have one down. Does it need to be in the UK?
No, anywhere.
Anywhere. Wow.
Because I'll tag them in as well. It's quite nice.
Okay. Well, the first one that comes to mind, I cashed in all my Amex points for a stay at Nikki Beach, Koh Samui.
Nice.
This March with my partner. And that was amazing.
Koh Samui was awesome.
Koh Samui was incredible.
Yeah.
First time in Thailand for me. So.
And weather was good at that time as well.
Yeah.
Scorching.
So we'll go with that.
Yeah, nice. Nikki Beach, Koh Samui. Okay, so now we're on to the last two questions for the next guest, and it's operator, marketer, business owner, founder, who knows? It's a wide range. We've got some like other operators coming in as well, so it's quite interesting to see. It's really weird having chat with tech, having chat with partners, and having chat with operators as well. So yeah, it could be anyone.
Wow. I haven't actually prepared for this one at all.
Some people like to do one sort of like businessy one, and then another one to be personal. But it's up to you.
Okay. The business one. What's the one thing you were told, but you didn't learn the lesson from being told it? You had to live it to learn a lesson.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's that one. And then an easy one. Favorite kind of book, podcast, course, whatever that you've kind of been on that has shifted the needle the most for you.
Interesting. What's your favorite podcast? Are you a podcast listener?
I am a podcast listener.
Not mine, but others. So you can't say mine.
I listen. I actually the two that I stay up to date with regularly are the Diary of a CEO.
Yeah.
Although
good. Depends. Sometimes they're amazing. Sometimes they're not.
Become a little bit clickbait recently, but I still like it. Like the one this last week with the Netflix guy was amazing. So that, and then I listen to The Story every morning, which is the Sunday Times podcast.
Okay.
It's like 20 minutes, half an hour. It kind of gives you something going on in the news at the minute. So
because you're so busy and you're going to get a chance to look. I don't get a chance to look at these, to be fair. So my drive in is the podcast time.
Tend to not watch the news.
Yeah, try not to. All right, I have to give you another round of applause. So thank you so much for coming in. We're going to give everyone a wave goodbye. This is Josh from Me and You. We will put all the info in the show notes. I want that case study because it'd be really cool for people to see.
Yeah, I'll take it out.
So thank you very much, and see you guys. Bye. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.